Joining us to talk about it is a man who has been on this case for a long, long time. He heads an organization called Merit Matters. What an outrageous name, Merit Matters. And we welcome in Paul Mannix, who is still a fire department deputy chief in New York City. Hello, Paul.
Hi, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's good to talk to you again. All right, so talk about how many people are we talking about here that are going to split up this $100 million? Well,
the number we've seen is 1,500, but there are different numbers because about 293 are going to be hired based on a quota, but then other people who were not hired stand to get money. Firefighters, black and Hispanic firefighters who were hired also stand to get money, if you can believe that. They're called delayed hire victims. According to the judge, and you'd have to ask him to explain the logic to you, they were hired, but they would have been hired sooner if not for race.
Well, let me ask you first of all, what was it that the court found to be biased in the firefighters' exam? The
1999 and the 2002 tests, the results were found to be biased. And that's the beauty of the legal concept of disparate impact from their perspective. The tests can be the greatest test in the world. The questions can be the greatest questions. But if the results are not what they want, then disparate impact comes into play.
So you're talking, not to interrupt, but you're saying that they didn't cite very specific questions or parts of the test and here's why it's biased. They just looked at the results of how many of the black and Hispanic applicants that took the test passed the test, and by virtue of the fact that in their view not enough minorities passed the test, therefore it had to be the test's fault. Is that what the bottom line is?
Exactly, but it gets even worse. You can go to nytimes.com and bring up that 1999 and 2002 tests, and people can see for themselves that every question had a paragraph or two above it that had all the information necessary to answer that question correctly. The Vulcan's lawyers, the Vulcan Society's lawyers,
that's the black lawyer,
right.
Firefighter group, yeah.
Right. Their lawyers argued, and the judge accepted the premise that reading comprehension ability is not required to be a firefighter, because all you had to do was read. And you know how you're laughing now? People think I'm lying sometimes, and I tell them, I don't blame you if you think I'm lying, but that's how ridiculous this whole issue has gotten.
Man, do you need how to tell time to be a firefighter? Do you need how to count to 10 to be
right.
a firefighter?
Exactly.
Unbelievable. Well, look, and the people who are going to suffer, not only from this settlement, but financially, but otherwise, are the people who are going to need firefighters to come save them in a fire, or put out a fire, or prevent a fire, or inspect for a fire, because what it is, it's a lowering of standards.
Absolutely. Absolutely, and the broad injunctive relief that's been granted is, and I'm going to read from a letter from the Corporation Counsel, New York City Corporation Counsel Zachary Carter, to Judge Garifas and Judge Deary, and he says the agreement between the city and the plaintiffs' interveners resolving the disparate treatment claims provides injunctive relief that relates to firefighter recruitment, the process for selection of entry-level firefighters, and other steps to increase the diversity of the fire department. That phrase, the process for selection of entry-level firefighters, scares the hell out of me. What are they going to do? And I don't put anything past them. I mean, the Vulcan Society is a group whose leaders have said that they're not against the most radical methods of integrating the FDNY, and that firefighting is really not as dangerous as everybody says. They've even said that the fires eventually go out. It doesn't matter.
Any other organization we look.
It's incredible. Yet these are the people who will listen to and who got their wish.
Okay, so yeah, you're right. So as I said, the people are going to suffer, but now there's going to be a quota system, and you know, I never understood this. The problem was, I think there are 5% blacks on the fire department, and opposed to 13% of the blacks population, or maybe in New York City it's probably 50%. I don't know. And now they're going to seek to raise the level of the percentage of blacks on the fire department above what their percentage of the population is, because for so long, so many years, the court says they've been denied a fair shake. So, you know, here's the deal. Isn't it true that there's always been a paucity of black applicants for the FDNY?
Yes, even though the city of New York has bent over backwards to integrate, going back to the 1970s, there was quota hiring in the 70s for blacks in the FDNY. As a result of that, they became almost 8% of the firefighting ranks. Now, the fact that they dropped down to about 3% when this lawsuit was first filed is whose fault? Especially since the city continued to recruit. And it's very interesting that you bring up the numbers in the city because Mayor de Blasio said when this settlement was reached that it's very important that government looks like New York City. Listen,
man.
Blacks are about 24% of the city population, yet they're 36% of all city workers. And there are 6 or 7 city agencies that are more racially out of balance than the FDNY. Does this mean that we're going to have a moratorium on hiring blacks until all city employment, quote, looks like New York City?
Paul, it only works one way. You know that, and I know that. That's a rhetorical question, because of course not. If there's more, that's ridiculous. I mean, you're asking it, but to think that they would ever do that, they don't mean it that way. They just mean that there's got to be a minimum level. Anything over the level is okay in their little formula. But you know what else is so disturbing? What if blacks don't want to be firefighters as much as whites? I mean, there's a tradition in many families, firefighters, Irish families and other families, Italian families, their fathers, their sons, their grandfathers, it's kind of handed down. This doesn't keep blacks out, but again, it goes back to how many blacks are actually interested in being a firefighter. And if the interest isn't there, why on earth would you try to talk someone into being in a job like firefighting when it's not in them and they don't feel the passion for it?
I'm going to tell you a scary story. The recruitment program right after 9/11 for the O2 test, the tagline was "Heroes Wanted," right? That was the tagline. Yep. The tagline for the next recruitment program for the 07 test,
Blacks Wanted?
Well, no, it was the best job in the world has the best benefits in the world. And I've gone to recruitment advisory committee meetings, and they told us before that 2007 recruitment program began that we weren't going to really talk about the nobler aspects of the job. I said, what do you mean? You're not going to talk about the danger? They said no. And I read through the court documents, and they said, now this is not me saying it, they said that tagline, "Heroes Wanted," talking about the danger and the thrill and everything, that did not entice young people of color. I went nuts. I'm like, first of all, you're insulting young people of color.
Absolutely. That's a racist statement. Yep.
Second of all, even though they believe it, the people on the other side of the equation from me, even though they believe it because they wrote it, they still want to hire them, which is it's mind-boggling.
Well, look, here's how it should work. Everybody knows you could be a firefighter if you want to. We know there are fire engines. We see that from the time we're little kids. Black, white, yellow, green, purple. If you want to be a firefighter, like if you want to be a cop, like if you want to be a teacher, like if you want to be a radio guy, you pursue your dream and you pursue your career. It's just insane. Paul, I admire you so much, Paul Mannix, for the work you've done, for the work you do. You're still active. We're running out of time. You got 10 seconds. Say what you want.
On that point, I have a lot of help, especially from the law firm of Sullivan and Galashaw. Keith Sullivan and James Galashaw represent us pro bono. Besides them, we have a ton of help. It's not just me.
Keep us informed. We'll check in with you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Folks, coming up next, Give Me 5. Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax Television.
Steve,